All right, let's dive into this story that kind of blew up online recently.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one.
It all started with this YouTube video
Oh yeah, I saw that.
by this guy Ludwig,
Uh-huh.
and it really gets you thinking about how we judge people.
Yeah.
Based on appearances.
Yeah, like first impressions.
Exactly.
Thing.
Like how often do we make assumptions about someone just by like how they look?
All the time, probably.
Yeah, and this story it takes that idea and it throws you right into this like really specific scenario.
I'm intrigued.
So picture this. You're in LA, right?
Hmm.
And not just any part of LA. You're in like the fancy part where
Okay.
all the celebrities and the influencers hang out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's this restaurant
Uh-huh.
called the Grand Oak.
Okay.
And it's like the place to be seen.
So like super high end.
Oh, totally. Like modern luxury,
Hmm.
sleek design, expensive everything.
I bet the food's probably like tiny portions, beautifully plated.
Exactly, like art on a plate.
Yeah.
And into this scene
Yeah.
walks Clint Eastwood.
Oh, wow, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, but not like how you'd expect.
What do you mean?
He's not like dressed up all fancy,
Hmm.
in a suit or anything.
Okay.
He's just wearing like a simple polo shirt and slacks.
Huh. Interesting choice for a place like that.
Right. Like totally doesn't fit the vibe.
Yeah.
And our main character in this whole thing, the waitress, her name's Rachel.
Okay.
She's young, ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
and she has this dream of becoming like a food influencer.
Oh, so she's all about like the gram and the perfect aesthetic.
Totally.
So how does she react to Clint Eastwood just casually strolling in?
Well, let's just say she's not exactly impressed.
Okay.
Right away, you can tell she's making these like judgments about him.
Like because of how he's dressed.
Yeah, maybe she just doesn't recognize him, Like
Yeah.
he's not part of her world.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like she sees him as this like intrusion on this carefully crafted image she has in her head of what the Grand Oak is supposed to be.
Almost like he's like messing with her perfect Instagram shot.
Exactly.
So what does she do?
Well, it starts subtly, right? She keeps like hovering around his table,
Okay.
making these little comments
Oh, like what?
like at one point she says to him, "Sir, I couldn't help but notice you've been nursing that. Well, that house whiskey for quite a while now."
Ouch.
Yeah, like a total dig, right?
Implying he can't afford anything by her.
Exactly.
That's rough.
And it gets worse. Later, she tells him straight up, "This isn't some diner off the highway. This is the Grand Oak. Perhaps in your day things were different, but now we have standards."
Wow, she's really laying it on thick.
I know, right? And you can tell Clint is just like observing everything, taking it all in.
Yeah, I bet he's got that classic Clint Eastwood look on his face.
Oh, totally. And he even asks her, like, modern luxury. And what exactly does that mean to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I wonder what she says.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. But first, there's this other character we got to talk about.
Okay, who's that?
The busboy, Miguel.
All right.
And unlike Rachel, Miguel recognizes Clint right away.
Oh, I bet he's like starstruck.
Totally. He's like super respectful,
Mm.
treats him like a legend.
It's interesting how you've got these two completely opposite reactions to Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, and it really highlights the whole theme of the story, right?
Yeah.
Like, are we seeing people for who they really are, or are we just seeing what we want to see?
It's like a test, almost. Who's got the real class here?
And things really come to a head when Rachel, in a last-ditch effort to get Clint to leave, says this to him. "This isn't some set from one of those old cowboy movies. I won't have you ruining the experience for our real guests."
Oh, man, that's gotta sting.
Right. Talk about misjudging your audience.
Oh.
But it's this moment, this exact moment, that sets up one of the most satisfying plot twists I've ever heard.
Okay, I gotta know. What happens?
Well, instead of getting angry, like you might expect, Clint, he just calmly takes out his phone
Mm.
and he says, "Jerry, could you bring me the ownership papers
Uh-huh.
and the renovation plans we discussed last week?"
Wait, hold on. Is he?
Yeah, he owns the place.
Oh, my God.
And look on Rachel's face. I can only imagine.
Priceless.
And when the accountant shows up with the paperwork, Clint, he explains why he bought the Grand Oak.
I'm on the edge of my seat here.
He says, "I bought it to preserve that spirit. Real class isn't about designer labels or social media followers. It's about dignity, respect, and treating everyone like they matter."
Wow.
Mic drop moment, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. What a way to shut down Rachel's whole worldview.
Totally. And instead of firing her on the spot, Clint gives her a choice.
Okay, what's the
She can either leave, go find a job that fits her idea of modern luxury,
Huh.
or she can stay and learn from Miguel and the other staff about what real hospitality actually means.
Oh, that's a tough one. What does she do?
Well, you'll have to wait for part 2 to find out.
You're killing me. I can't wait.
Don't worry, we'll be back soon with the rest of the story.
Looking forward to it.
So Rachel's got this big decision to make right,
Yeah, walk away or like swallow her pride and learn a thing or two.
and she chooses to stay.
Wow, I'm actually surprised.
Me too, kind of.
Takes guts to admit you were wrong.
Yeah. Especially when you were so, like, vocal about it.
And to learn from the people you were just, dismissing.
Yeah, I can't imagine how humbling that must have been for her.
Like, talk about a reality check.
Going from wanting to kick Clint Eastwood out
Right.
to basically becoming his student.
In the school of humility.
Exactly.
I wonder what was going through her mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's like she's suddenly in this totally different world.
Right. Her values are like flipped upside down.
And the people she thought were, like, irrelevant.
Yeah, the veteran staff.
They become her mentors.
It's like a classic story, the student becomes the teacher.
And those veteran staff, they've seen it all, right?
Yeah, they've probably been at the Grand Oak forever.
Through all the changes, all the trends.
But they've held on to those core values.
Respect, dignity, genuine hospitality.
It's like they're the keepers of the flame.
And they're showing Rachel what it really means to treat everyone with respect.
Not just the people you think are important.
Yeah, it's not about impressing the influencers or the wealthy.
It's about seeing the worth in every single person.
It makes me think about how often we forget that in the service industry,
Yeah, people are expected to just be nice all the time.
no matter how they're treated.
It's easy to get jaded, I bet.
But this story, it shows that even in that world, there's space for real connection.
For mentorship, for reminding each other that we're all human.
And as Rachel starts training under Miguel...
I bet those veteran staff are watching her like hawks.
Oh, absolutely.
Making sure she's really getting it.
They're not just observing,
They're shaping her.
passing down their wisdom.
Making sure those old school values survive.
It's like the passing of the torch.
And it's beautiful in a way.
It shows that mentorship isn't about power.
It's about sharing experience.
Guiding someone to a deeper understanding.
And Rachel, she seems to be embracing it.
Yeah, she's letting herself be vulnerable.
Learning from the people she misjudged.
And she's shedding those layers of superficiality.
She's finally seeing the world for what it is.
And the story doesn't end there.
What happens next?
Well, the Grand Oak, it keeps thriving.
Good, good.
Not just because of the fancy stuff.
It's more than that.
It's because of the heart and soul.
That Clint Eastwood helped to preserve.
Exactly.
It's a reminder that real success isn't about chasing trends.
It's about staying true to your values.
Building something with integrity.
It's like that saying, people may not remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And in a world that's so focused on appearances.
The Grand Oak is like this beacon of authenticity.
And it's not just about the customers either.
What do you mean?
Clint, he created an environment where the staff feels valued.
Like a family, almost.
Yeah, and that's crucial for any organization to thrive.
Totally.
And here's the best part.
Okay, tell me.
The video says that if you go to the Grand Oak on a Friday night,
Yeah.
you might just see Clint Eastwood himself
No way.
at his usual table,
Just hanging out.
enjoying his whiskey, making sure those old values live on.
That's amazing.
It's like he's the guardian of the Grand Oak's soul.
Protecting it from the superficiality of Hollywood.
It's funny how we started this deep dive talking about judging people based on their appearances.
Yeah, and here's Clint Eastwood, the tough guy.
Showing us that true strength comes from humility and respect.
It's like a total role reversal.
It just goes to show you that the people we think we know,
They can surprise us.
and sometimes the best lessons come from the most unexpected places. It really makes you think about how quick we are to judge sometimes,
Yeah, like we think we know everything just by looking at someone.
and we miss out on so much,
Yeah, all those connections we could be making.
especially in this world, where everyone's trying to project this perfect image.
Social media's got to be a big part of that.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like everyone's showing their highlight reel.
So you never know what's real anymore.
It makes it even harder to see past the surface,
So thinking about Clint and the Grand Oak and this idea of like genuine connection, what do you think people can take away from this?
Well, first, we got to be aware of it, right? Like, catch ourselves when we're judging someone based on how they look.
Yeah, and ask ourselves, am I missing something here?
Like, is there more to this person than I'm seeing?
Instead of just writing them off.
It's about being curious,
Yeah, and respectful,
giving people the benefit of the doubt.
remembering that everyone has their own story.
In those stories, they're way more interesting than any Instagram post.
You know, it's not just about being polite either.
It's deeper than that.
It's about actually wanting to connect with people,
Asking questions, listening to their answers.
being open to learning from anyone.
It's like that saying, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle.
I love that one.
You never know what someone's going through.
Yeah, so why not be a little bit kinder?
It might make all the difference.
I keep thinking about Clint Eastwood just sitting there in the Grand Oak.
Like a quiet observer.
It's like he's not just protecting a restaurant.
It's more than that.
He's protecting a way of life.
Reminding us that those old values, they still matter.
Respect, dignity, treating people right.
And those things, they never go out of style.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Uh-huh.
I want to leave our listeners with this thought.
Okay, shoot.
How can you bring a little bit of that Grand Oak spirit into your own life?
Like, how can we be more like Clint?
Maybe it's just starting a conversation with someone you wouldn't normally talk to.
Or offering a helping hand.
Or really listening when someone's telling you something.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know. That person you might be tempted to dismiss.
Yeah.
They might just teach you the most important lesson you ever learn.
That's a great point.
And that's something worth thinking about.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.